Okay, what we're going to be looking at today is how did the revolutionary occur? Because I always want you to think the revolution really happens in 76, right? This is 63. Are they quick to revolt? No, it took over 13 years, right? They're reluctant revolutionaries. And you have to understand a little bit about George and the other people in charge. George III, he is an absolute ruler. So is he enlightened or is he not enlightened? But do you think he wants to reason with them? No. So when they write that letter, the Virginia House of Burgesses, which we read today, do you think George is going to read it and be like, they have some good points. Let me address their grievances and do as they please? No, an absolute ruler would do what? Toss it and say it's my way or the highway, right? Okay, so he's going to be an absolute ruler. Does he want to agree or help the colonists at all? No. And he's going to appoint yes men with him. And his prime minister will be this guy named Grenville. And Grenville's problem is the debt. There are 140 million pounds in debt, which you saw on question 7, right? That is like $1 trillion because it's all based in gold. This is a lot of money. And what are the colonists following that is making this grow astronomically? What is it that they should be following, which is the first thing we went over today? Mercantilism. Are they following it? No, because they're doing what? Where are they buying their goods? They're smuggling. They're bringing it in from other countries. So Grenville, what he's going to do, and this is why the colonists will resent him, is he's going to enforce the trade and navigation laws. So which colonial region is going to be really upset that he's enforcing the navigation laws? Because what is based there? The shipping. So the first real act is not anything with mercantilism. It stems from the French and Indian War, but this is going to start our imperial policy because now we have a government that is becoming more involved, more central, okay? And our first act is the proclamation line. This line was put in place because settlers were moving west, and who was attacking them? The Indians. And the English crown wanted to prevent them from being attacked, but were the colonists happy with this? No. They wanted to obtain that land. They just fought over it in the French and Indian War, which is the Ohio River Valley. So the colonists will resist, and the settlement will continue. I told you will have a quiz over this on Friday. Everybody will get a placard. Do y'all see my placard here? Proclamation. This is the first thing in imperial policy. It said the colonists could not move which way? West. Did they follow this? No. What did they do? They went west. They continued to settle. Okay? So this would be the first one, and then whoever has this would go next. Okay? It's a cause and effect. That's how we're going to line up. Okay? So do y'all get what the quiz is? And everything has a separate thing. Okay. As I go, I'm going to be writing letters out to the side for us to remember in a mnemonic something device. Okay, the next thing. The English were determined to enforce laws. What laws? Tell me what laws? Navigation. The Navigation Acts. Because that would bring what into the crown? Gold, but also what was rolled into the price? The tariffs. So they're going to send revenue officers over. What are they going to be collecting? They're going to be collecting that tax money. And so, to collect this tax money, what did they need to go find? What did they need to go find? People who were doing what? These revenue officers are looking for who? People who are doing what? What crime would be committed in mercantilism, Navigation Act? They're looking for smugglers. So these tax revenue officers are looking for, I'm just going to put out here, they're looking for smugglers. So they're going to be armed with a couple of things. One of them is a writ of assistance. A writ is basically a warrant. Okay? So I'm going to make up an artificial crime. I do this every year. My husband knows about it. If this is artificial, if I were to kill my husband, they want to find evidence on me. So where would they need to get warrants? From the judge. They go to the court. They go to the judge. But where would they want, if they were being a good investigator, where would they want a warrant for? First, they want to get my house. Where else would they need to get? Because that's one warrant. Where else would they need to get? My car. Where else? Work. Okay, we have another house in Corsicana Inland. So how many warrants did they need to get? But does that take time? Yes. And so these revenue officers, they're looking for what? Smugglers, and they're going to have to keep on going up to the judge when they find out a new smuggler, which is that good. Every time they find out a smuggler, they're going to have to run to the judge and be like, I have a smuggler. I need a warrant. What would happen to the process? It would be slow the process down. So this writ of assistance is like a super warrant because it allows this tax revenue agent to go anywhere. So I'm just going to write to the side that this is a super warrant, because does he need to keep on going up to the judge? No. He has this piece of paper, and can he start looking at all the ships? Because does he need to keep on going to the judge to go to ship A, ship B, ship C, ship D? Does he? No, he could go to whatever ship. So who has power now? Is it the colonist or is it the tax revenue person? Is this violating their rights? And then the other thing that is created is the amorality courts. So we have writs of assistance, which are the super warrants, and the amorality courts. These amorality courts, y'all saw in question 12, people are now guilty until proven what? Innocent. And what is lacking in these courts? A jury. And so the colonists are going to get infuriated. The colonists will protest because they violated their traditional rights. Is it more than just taxes that they're upset about? They're upset about their rights being circumvented by the government. Okay? Have I even gotten to a tax yet? No, I've talked about the proclamation, them not being able to move west. I've talked about the writs of assistance in the amorality courts, that they're upset about these because they violate their what? Rights as a colonist. And so now I'm going to get to a tax, which it is the sugar tax. It reduces rates. Basically, it reduces a tax. That should be good, right? It reduces a tax. How many would you like reduction in your taxes? You do. But it required payment in gold and silver. Why is this not good? Do they have a lot of gold and silver? No, and they're going to have to port this over to England. So what happens in the colonies? There's less gold, less silver, so what do they have to rely on? What is it, the stuff that we said in question 5 that they're having to use? Barter. They're having to barter with feathers, butter, pitch, nails, and even create paper currency. So the colonists are going to dislike this because they had little gold and silver. And they're forbidden to issue more paper money. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to issue paper money. Are they following the rules? So they're being what? Rebels. They're dissenting. Okay. The next act is the Stamp Act. I always remember you want your sugar before you get your stamp. So the Stamp Act is an internal tax. And I'm going to explain the difference between an internal and an external. But it's an internal tax to raise revenue to support soldiers in the colonies. Why would they need soldiers? Why would they need soldiers? To keep who in line? The colonists, because are they following the rules? And they need soldiers here to back up what guy? What guy's here? The revenue agent. So, it's to raise revenue to support the soldiers. And it's going to mandate, a lot of you have what it mandated, that there is going to be a stamp affixated to legal documents, right? And also playing cards, newspapers, pamphlets, anything that was official. So how many of you had to go get a VOE? That would have to have an official document. When you were registering for school, that would need a stamp. Anything that is official, that is legal, it's a document that binds you to something. So is this going to affect a lot of the colonists? So they're going to be upset about this. They're upset for several reasons. And you have to understand the difference between an internal and an external tax. So external is to regulate trade. And this is like the Navigation Acts. Okay. So to regulate trade, it's like the Navigation Acts. Do they follow this? Now what do they do to get around this? What do they do to circumvent this? Okay, so do they like the external? No. I'm going to put a smiley face here. They like it because they will smuggle. So they don't pay what? Pay the tax. But this one isn't an external tax. What type of tax is it? Internal, so can they get around this one? No. This is an internal, which is to raise revenue. I already wrote that there, raise revenue. And it is added to the price at the purchase. So is there any way to get around this? No, when they go to get that legal document to get married, they have to pay it at that moment. They're going to go get their VOE form because they want to drive in colonial America. They have to pay that stamp there. There is no way to get around this. Can they smuggle in documents? No. Are they going to be forced to pay this? So I'm just going to make a little mad face. They're mad because they have to pay it. It looks like an alien, right? But they're going to have to pay it. And because they're going to have to pay it, are they going to resist? This is what leads to the Stamp Act Congress. They're going to petition. Who do you think they're going to petition? The king, that who should only be able to tax them? Themselves, which we saw on question 13. That the colonists conceded the right to Parliament to legislate, make legal issue on stuff, but they felt that they could only trade, they could only tax themselves. So now they're really upset. And then y'all know this trite little song that they start singing, no taxation without representation. But does it go back to their English Bill of Rights? The next thing is a group of people who are coming in. The Sons of Liberty. And y'all saw them on the study guide, the roles of the Sons of Liberty and the roles of the Daughters of Liberty. But I know a lot of you said that they were there to enforce the non-importation agreements. But we're going to watch a little scene. And I want you to, I digress on it, but I want you to see what they're doing. This is from John Adams.
And who may you be, sir?
John Hancock, ship owner.
Do y'all know that guy? Why do y'all know him? He has a big signature, right? What did he just say he has? He's a ship owner. So what do you think he's not? This is a tax revenue agent, right? What do you think he's investigating about John? Smuggling. Okay.
Not John Hancock, the smuggler?
What's your word, sir?
Is he insulted? Yes. Because he's just basically said that John is not following the laws, right?
I'm an honest man being strangled by monopoly.
Shame on you, sir!
Shame on you!
Is the mob attacking the tax revenue agent? Do you understand why they needed to bring in soldiers now? To raise that revenue. We're gonna keep on watching.
Shame on
That's John. And he's talking to Sam Adams, which y'all know he owns a bar, right? Okay. And he says people are fighting for what is rightfully theirs, their property. Oh, who is he quoting? Property. Locke and who else? Jefferson and who else? Adam Smith. He says they're fighting for what is rightfully theirs, their property.
A brutal and illegal act to enforce a political principle, Sam! Answer me that, can you?
Y'all know what tars used to make, right? The roads. So this is like really hot, so his skin, like most people don't survive after being tarred and feathered. But are they resisting? And this is why John is so like how can all these people be like cheering this on? But are the colonists upset with the revenue collectors? Because now they're gonna be forced to buy whose goods? English, which means what's going to happen with the price. It's going to go up, and do they feel that they should they be forced to buy English goods? No, they believe that they should be able to work out their own trade agreements on their own. So really when the revolution occurs, it comes because of the issue that they feel that they have the right to govern themselves, tax themselves, and they feel that their rights are being violated. So the Stand Back Congress is going to petition. This is very peaceful, right? They write a letter like we saw earlier. But what we saw with the Sons of Liberty, are they doing the same? No, what are they doing? They're tarring and feathering who? Tax collectors. And there's another group of people, the daughters of liberty. If we are not buying English goods, well, we need clothes, right? So the daughters of liberty are coming together and making homespun clothing. They're having their homespun stuff and selling those items so that people don't buy English goods. So are the sons of liberty and the daughters of liberty encouraging people not to buy? Another group of people who are not so chaotic, that are helping people not to buy, is the committees of correspondence. Correspondence means to tell people. They are telling people to boycott English goods. And they are hoping that if people boycott, they don't import, that it is going to hurt England, because England won't be able to collect what? The tax, but also who will be hurt in the long run. Y'all have this on your study guide. They were hoping it to hurt the English merchant. That is 17. Who suffered from the non-importation is the English merchant. And there's a reason why. Let me do an analogy from today to relate it to back then. So y'all know, what would be our equivalent to Parliament today? House of Representatives, Congress. Are those people, are they tied to business? A lot of those men? Yes, but they're not like NASCAR. Y'all know on NASCAR, y'all can see who bought the NASCAR car, right? Because they have their logos on it. But for a lot of our people that are in the House, do they wear the companies that have bought them out or are helping them in their campaigns? No, right? Same thing with Parliament at this time. A lot of these English merchants have bought people in Parliament. And these English merchants are mad at Parliament because they're enforcing a rule that's impacting them, because what are they lacking now? Money. No one is buying their goods, so their profits are going down. And do they like Parliament for this? And they say, Parliament, if you keep on doing this, are they going to be supporting them, the merchants, anymore? So now Parliament's stuck in a place. Either keep this rule on the colonists or lose their support. What are they going to do? Keep the rule or lose their support? Do you think they want to keep the rule? Or do they want to keep their support? So what they're going to do, the English merchants will petition for the repeal because they are losing what? And do the Parliament want to help the English merchants? So they are going to repeal. And now the colonists rejoice because of the repeal of the Stamp Act. They lift the boycott. Who is now in authority in this revolution? Let's just learn. Who won in this situation? The colonists, right? I always equate this situation to something that happens to me at HEB every single time if I take my daughter. I hate going to the register with my daughter. Okay? Huh? Because when you go to the register, what other tantalizing stuff is there? Candy. And I take my daughter there and she's like, Mom, I just want a Hershey's bar. I just want some M&Ms, the plain kind. I'm like, no. What does the kid do? They start crying and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then they turn I don't know, they're going crazy like the Sons of Liberty, right? Having a tantrum on the floor, and then all parents turn around and what do? Judge you. Wait, judge you? No, we're not kicking you, nothing to report you to CPS. They give the kid the candy. And what does the kid learn every single time? If you do that, that works. What have the colonists just learned? That if an act is passed that they dislike, they petition, they go out and go crazy, they boycott because it's going to hurt who? England, the merchants, and what will happen to that act? It will get removed. This will happen in every single time in the revolution here. And even y'all just think it's isolated to this era? I want you to think of Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, you know, she was in the back of the bus, got arrested, right? And then they did the bus boycott. It hurt the who? Businesses. And what happened to that law saying that African Americans could only be on the back of the bus? It will happen every single time in American history. That people, if they don't like a rule, they resist that rule. Will the rule stay? Prohibition. Did they like that rule? They resisted. Did it stay? No. Okay? So now, who looks like it's in power? Parliament or the colonists? Parliament. And what, no, colonists. And what Parliament will do, I was saying the next thing. What Parliament will do, knowing that they have a lost authority, is Parliament will then pass the Declaratory Act. And y'all saw this on your study guide. It reaffirmed Parliament's right to bind the colonists in whatever way they wanted. Basically, Parliament has full authority. Oh my gosh, it sounds like the situation at the checkout, right? The parent lets them have the candy and they're walking out of the store and they're like, we'll see you next time, right? You see what you get when you get home, right? Have you ever heard that argument from your parents? Okay, now Parliament's saying we have the right to make rules over you because we are the parent because of this idea called virtual representation. That Parliament represents all people in England, in the colonies, in Australia, in a pineapple under the sea. They represent you. I'm just trying to get y'all done. Does it look like Parliament's lost control? So they're going to do the Declaratory Act because of virtual representation, and then this is why they have to bring in what? A lot of soldiers, because our thing's getting out of hand. Yes. And so they're bringing in soldiers and they're putting them in people's houses. Is this violating a right of an Englishman? Yes, and this is why those legislators are protesting. And this will lead to the Quartering Act, saying, no, you have to house them, you have to give them food. Is this violating that right? So let me do, I have like 2 minutes. Most of you have multiple rooms in your house, right? So what they would do in the colonial areas, they would say, they would go to everybody's house. I don't know how many people are in your house. They're going to move into one room, your whole family. All the other rooms are taken over for soldiers. Are y'all happy? No. And this is eventually going to lead to things down the road which will eventually succumb to what you'll see on our study guide of the Boston Massacre, which we will continue next time, the timeline.